Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your boy Bodkins, and of course, with me is my guy, Bobby Blunts. Man, it is UFC 310 this Saturday, headlined by, I like to say, my fighter of the year, Alexander Pantoja, versus making his UFC debut. Ascara, right? Is that how you say it? Yeah, Ascara, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
butchering the
I'm gonna
name.
butcher it.
Where's Wit when you need him?
Yeah,
But nonetheless, this card is stacked, Bobby. Like, I mean, the people are bitching about the placement, mainly the Bryce Mitchell, Cron Gracie placement. Because you got Aljo on the prelims, you got a couple other big names on the prelims, but this card is, as a whole, in the year, the last of the year, I feel pretty good about it.
yeah. I mean, especially from like top to bottom, it's stacked. I mean, I think you got like Chase Hooper, the second fight on the night. The prelims are absolutely loaded. Um, Originally I was a little off put by Aljo being put on there, but then at the same time, I also kind of looked at the rest of the card and realized kind of what they were going with. Because you look at the entire thing from the very back to the very front, there's not like really one boring fight on there. So I'm sure we'll break everything down as soon as you pop back in. For now, it's just me. Bawkins was talking about the Aljo fight pretty much getting bumped on the prelims. That's not really new news, but it kind of happened over the past few weeks. A lot of people have speculated because of, Aljo's past with, his past history with the brass. There was the video of Hunter Campbell kind of hard negotiate on him to take the Sean O'Malley fight. So you never know like how much that is like noise and stuff. But whenever he's on the prelims and stuff, it's going to amplify it. Welcome back, brother.
Yeah, sorry. The internet is cutting in and out for some odd reason today. Hey, appreciate it. Yeah, the prelims is going to be. I don't mind the way it's set up. I get the bitch about Cron Gracie and Bryce Mitchell, but the prelims itself, like you get we got Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith on this card. You got Mozart Evolov versus Aljo. Like, that seems to be like the people that are complaining the most. Is like that card is on the prelims. Brian Battle versus Randy Brown on this card as well. So like I like all of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't have Rude Boy and Battle open up on the main card. But at the same time, looking at the top of the prelims, it's just so juicy with that fight and then the Aljo fight happening. So, if I try to look at it unbiasedly, I think the UFC did a great job with the matchmaking. Though I thought, a few days it was kind of off-putting when they swapped it. It definitely kind of all worked itself out in the end. I mean, the last time that you had a card build like this where like almost every fight was intriguing, I don't want to say it was 300, but that is kind of like what it was built like and stuff. So it's all gonna depend how quickly it goes, but I'm really excited for every fight on the card. um, you know Normally we break down the main card only. While Bawkins is getting back in here, I think I'll quickly go over the Randy Brown and Brian Battle fight. I think it's a really compelling fight, especially when you look at how Battle has been doing. He pretty much had the promo of the year there, where he was saying you really thought the Butcher was going to lose to a Frenchman. So, all of that definitely is kind of why I thought they would put it on the main card. But it's a really good fight to kind of get his name wider mentioning and stuff. And, if he can get this win, that will put him in the rankings there. So, he's kind of like one fight from really being, that next guy. And especially with the co-main event being at welterweight, I think it's a really good placed fight on the card to kind of bring us into the main card there. And yeah, as Cross said, Rude Boy versus the Pooh Bear, and that is that easily could be fight of the night. I mean, that's really a good matchup both ways.
Yeah, I like both of those fights personally. Like Pooh Bear, or I guess the Butcher now, as he likes to be called, versus the Rude Boy. So I like both. I like that fight as well. That could be a fight of the night type material. Like, this is a card to me, like, where you got to sit down from like top to bottom and watch it all.
Yeah, no, I mean, immediately first fight, I'll be in there. And I think they did a pretty decent job of booking it. Like, originally when they did the swap with Aljo and Crone, I thought it was a little strange, like swapping it literally for that matchup. But, the more and more I saw it, the UFC signed Mikey Musumeci and stuff like that. So who knows if they're trying to play some stuff on the line and see, maybe we can throw this on the main card, see how people react to it. Crone does have a following in the grappling community and stuff. So I definitely hope it's a fight where these men use their grappling and it doesn't turn into a kickboxing match. But, at the same time, I think with especially how the main card opens, it's a kind of nice little segue into the Gone fight. So I think top to bottom, the card is pretty well, and a great way to close out the year in pay-per-view terms for sure.
Yeah, well, there's only really two cards. This is the second to last card of the year, so we're getting it all in. Next week's card, Tampa Bay card, is the final card of the year. I'm going to go ahead and before we start breaking down this main card, and it's going to spoil. No, I'll go back. I'll wait till the end to give out this pick.
Oh, were you pulling for the dog?
I was, but then I feel like I'm going to spoil all the picks going forward. So I was like, if I pull out the dog now, then I'm going to spoil my picks later. So I probably already did, but nonetheless, let's get into it. This card starts out with none other than Nate the Train Landwire, baby.
Oh, we lose you.
He's 18-5. He's won 4 out of his last fights. He is taking on Doohoo Choi, who is 15-4, been around a while. Bobby, who you like in this one, and why?
I mean, Nate has been on like one hell of a run, and I love his style of if you ain't gonna whoop my ass, I'm gonna whoop your, And I mean, you in most terms you would think that it'd be common sense, but like his fight style matches his energy on the microphone, which is very rare. A lot of the times you'll get people that the mic is their main skill, and then they just do their work in the cage and get by. But that is a very interesting fight. I mean, especially I think Choi's coming off a pretty significant layoff, right? Or am I getting that confused with someone else?
I mean, yes and no. I actually just looked this up because I thought it had been a while for him as well. He did fight. Both fighters had fought recently this year. Choi fought back in 2024, but he fought in 2000, or he just fought in July of this year. Before that, hadn't fought February, but before that hadn't fought since 2019. So
never mind. I'm getting him confused with someone on the undercard because now I remember that war. So those two, like, that is just going to be fireworks for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I could see Choi definitely having a lot of success early, and then Nate coming on in those second and third rounds. So, I mean, what is the line on that one? Is that pretty close to a pick 'em, or is one of them
Yeah,
a
so
lot?
I'm my bad. I didn't give out the line here. So Nate the Train is 18-5. Choi is 15-4. Nate the Train is the favorite at -135, and Choi is plus 115.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit like more than a pick 'em, like a slight favorite. And
Yeah.
pretty much how they match up, I think that's right on the money. And if this ends up like going to decision or past the second round, I would probably favor Nate. But it's about as coin flip of a fight as you could probably get there. So excellent fight to open up the main card, and especially coming off like the prelims that we're getting. I mean, this is a good one to be excited about. That's for sure.
The over under on the rounds is 2.5. I don't know what so I'm just kind of looking at ESPN bet here, just a quick kind of fight odds. I don't know what the over under is on takedowns. I'd probably take the under. I don't think either one of these guys are looking to take this to the ground. This fight's going to be an absolute banger. This is how you open up a pay-per-view card. This fight could very well be fight of the night type material. So if Nate the Train by KO, TKO, or DQ is plus 375. For Choi, it's plus 275. And then you get by sub, Nate the Train by plus 600. Sub for Choi is plus 800. And then by points, it's Nate the Train by 240 and Choi by 550. I think you're safe to say, I think one of these guys is getting knocked out. Somewhere maybe in the second late second round, or maybe the third. So I like the plus. You might, if you're going to pick Nate the Train, you might as well pick by knockout or points.
I could see it, but these two guys are so fucking tough. I could also see them just beating the fuck out of each other, like in the oral
fight, like you said, for 15 minutes.
Yeah. So like that. Originally, when I was saying, I think they really could have put Brian Battle opening up the main card. This is why they didn't have him on the main card, because they had this. So I mean, it's really just a testament to how stacked this is. So
Nate the Train's. This fight is not going to be boring. Like, people can be pissed off at the Evolov and Aljo fight, and we know what that. I feel like we know what that fight's going to be. It's going to be a grappling match. But this fight here, this is like a standalone. Give me here's my money. I want to see these two dudes in a phone booth throw down, and that's what you're going to get. I'm in agreement with you as far as I think Choi kind of puts on early. Nate always seems to get beat up and then turns it on late. Like, he's got to see himself get bleeding and kind of get busted up before he turns it on. Who are you picking here?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is you can only do that so many times without getting caught. But, all that being said, and granted, this could be a lot more vibes than actual breakdown, I'm definitely rolling with Nate the Train there.
Yeah, hey, like I said, if I don't lose, I'm probably going to win. You got to whoop my ass some, but give me Nate the Train, baby. I love this.
You lose you. Yeah. So no.
He's a guy that's not going to be a champion, but he's a guy that's always going to be fun to watch. He's always going to be a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. They know what they're doing with this. Hopefully, we get an epic promo afterwards. But at the same time, it, like you said, it pretty much just sells itself.
Yeah, let's get into the fight that everybody is complaining about, and that's Mr. I hate. I'm a flat earther. I hate Elon Musk. I hate seatbelts. Today was the new thing. He hates
Is that
seatbelts.
shocking to people knowing that he's a cage fighter, though? Like, I mean, some of these ones, it seems like they're intentionally trying to get him to say, you know?
Yeah, nothing shocks me about Bryce Mitchell. Nothing, unless he like came up with something that was actually smart, like intelligent wise, But some of the things that he actually believes in, I could see that. But Mr. Freedom, number 13, he has not fought since he went Josh Emmett pretty much sent him into the next dimension. And his last fight. But Bryce Mitchell, number 13 featherweight, Bryce Mitchell, 16-3. He is the heavy favorite here at minus 900, and he's taking on a guy, Kron Gracie, who's 5-2, who's plus 525. Last time we seen Kron, it was a snooze fest. That was way back May of last year when he lost to Charles Jourdain. And if you remember, he lost by unanimous decision. He just laid there, and Charles just kind of beat him up for a little bit. But your thoughts here, Bobby, on, are you surprised that this fight is where it's at, not on the prelims, first of all?
I was when I originally heard it, mainly just because it seemed like they swapped the Aljo matchup out for something that would be very similar stylistically and stuff. But the more I've kind of sat with it, I saw the guys do their media and stuff. I kind of get it from the UFC's angle, especially you look at those prelims and like the way they're built, it wouldn't be built like that if Aljo was not on the prelims,
Yeah.
So in the end, I don't think it's really doing it as much of a disservice as I thought it was in real time. But
who you like here and why?
Like I said, I hope to see these guys implore their grappling, especially with the a lot of the times when the grappler fight, they'll cancel each other out, so they'll strike. And I just really hope they kind of implore their skills. Listening to Kron's media, I think that is kind of what they're going to do, because he kind of I thought he could not have had a better interview. Like the questions they asked him and stuff, he did not look disinterested. He seemed to kind of own up to some of the mistakes he made in the preparation for the fight and people that got into his head. So I was not aware of the line in all that, but I kind of am not shocked by it when you look at the last performance and stuff. I think for Bryce Mitchell, it's a perfect matchup coming back here off the layoff of that knockout. So I eventually think Bryce will get it done, but I do think this fight will be a little bit more entertaining than people are letting on.
Yeah, real quick, I'm just kind of looking at the rest of the fight odds here. So I gave the money line. I'm surprised at this. Sub by Bryce Mitchell's 475, and Kron is plus 1200. Now you get to knockouts. Kron is plus 2000. So
yeah, and I think the inflated line on Mitchell by Sub is more a testament to Gracie's defensive grappling. So, what's the decision on this? I assume that would be pretty favored, right?
Yeah, by decision is Bryce minus 900. Kron by plus 1,000. I mean, he's a plus 525 favorite, but plus 1,000. Our dog, he's plus 1,000 by Sub, our points.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of a fun, wild one to put in a parlay to get some serious juice.
Yeah.
I personally would not be suggesting that, but again, listening to him, he went back and said, I got in my own head and I didn't throw any punches. That did not strike me as a man that was going to replicate his past performance on Saturday night. So, granted, all of that means nothing when they actually get in the cage. So we'll see what happens when the lights are on. But, I think as shocking as this may sound to some people, that it is kind of bringing some unique eyes in to the pay-per-view that necessarily wouldn't be watching normal UFC pay-per-view events. And when I mean that, I'm kind of referring to the grappling and jiu-jitsu community. So I do not think it was entirely to spite Aljo, which,
I
full
see what you're saying.
disclosure,
So
I thought that when I first saw this. I immediately was like, this seems a little weird. And especially with Umar, Marab not taking the fight. Now, granted, that is all old news because of what dropped a half hour ago. But the point remains, like, we know Aljo and the UFC are, and, Aljo definitely felt, I think, more slighted by it than the fans, because he was saying, I'm not a prelim fighter. I'm going to show you. But maybe he just feels that way because this is his second time on the prelims, because 300 was so stacked they had him on there. So,
and everybody hated his fight. Dana said he hated his fight at 300.
yeah. And I know we're not talking about the Aljo fight, but my question would be, is that a number one contender fight when you look at the aspect of it probably was when it was on the main card? But now with it being dropped, does that affect it at all? Or would you say both of them will need one more regardless?
I think both of them need one more regardless, and
Yeah.
we can talk about that fight here in a little bit after we get to the main. I want to talk about that fight. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. Real quick, on Bryce, he lost Josh Emmett. Prior to that, he had beat Dan Ige, lost to Ilya Tapora, the former, the current featherweight champ. Prior to that, he was he was undefeated until he got to Ilya, and then lost to, beat Dan Ige, and then obviously the huge knockout to Josh Emmett set him into the, next planet.
And it's
Probably
all
would should have worked
back from those knockouts. And like that,
yeah.
To me alone is intriguing enough to have this on the main card.
And I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is they put this card on the main event is because they are trying. You think that they're going to try to boost up this next grappling event, so they need Kron's people to buy the pay-per-view and then kind of promote that, is what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of definitely diluted thinking that I'm doing, full disclosure on that. But I'm just trying to think of other ways to justify it than Hunter Campbell being like, "Oh, fuck Aljo," and that's.
I don't think Hunter Campbell fuck Aljo, maybe, but I think Dana.
Especially when I saw Mikey Musumeci's interview, he was talking about interest in wanting to do MMA, and if they ever have Mikey Musumeci, he'll be on the main card. What do you think he's going to be doing? So it was just kind of a thing I was thinking about as time went on when this was all kind of unfolding. But initially, I had the same reaction as a lot of people. But then looking at the entire card and stuff, I think the placement on is fine. And, will it be like that dragging fight on the main card that people are talking shit to me in the Discord? Like, what the hell were you talking about, Bobby? Very well could be. But I don't know. They've done a good enough job in selling me that it's going to be semi-competitive. And like you said, Bryce Mitchell looked like a motherfucker before he got knocked out twice. So, this sport is extremely unforgiving. And, I think it's kind of poetic there. Bryce definitely felt honored by he himself said Aljo deserved to be on the main card over him. But at the same time, he was going to take that honor and roll with it because the UFC trusted him. So, you know, you love to see him get in a moment after, you know, that knockout was bad. And, you know, I
Yeah,
don't,
that could
there are
be.
enough
That
memes
was
out
that
there.
this year.
People know what
Was
I'm
that this
talking about.
year? Was that this year? That was this year. That could be. Everybody's talking about. I know the Max Holloway Justin Gaethje fight, you know, is probably going to be the knockout of the year. But Josh Emmett sending, you know, sending him into the next universe might have been knockout.
In my mind, it was about a year ago, but with the Apex brain, it's very hard to say, not having a calendar in front of me.
Let me
But
look.
you know,
It was exactly so. It was exactly a year ago. Not it wasn't this calendar year, but it was 2023.
yeah, and I mean that. I know Emmett is not the size of Francis Ngannou, but that knockout looked worse than Francis knocking out Stipe, like the aftermath effect and stuff. So
Yeah,
you definitely want to take a year for that. And you know, I think it's probably the best matchup. I saw some people's pushback is this is too far down for Bryce. And, you know, Crone, when he was addressing that, he's like, you know, I want to fight names. And Bryce Mitchell is an up and comer and he has a name. So, you know, I think it will, when the fight is over, it will justify its main card placement, especially if we're comparing it to the Aljo fight.
yeah. Let's get into fight number 3. We'll get to that Aljo fight here after we get to this main card. It is a rematch of the number 2 heavyweight Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. They fought way back. Remember, they fought back in June of 2006 and 2021, which Ciryl Gane won by unanimous decision. Ciryl Gane is 12-2. The 2 losses, obviously, to Francis and John Jones. Volkov is 38-10. He has been on quite the run since the Ciryl Gane loss. His only other loss is to Tom Aspinall. And if you remember that, like he had to jump through hoops to get to England to fight Tom. And then since then, he's been on a 4-fight winning streak. Beat Jairzinho, beat Alexander Romanov, beat Tai Tuivasa, beat Sergey Pavlovich, which, you know, who would have thought, you know, earlier this year. So I'm looking at the odds here. Ciryl Gane is minus 390. Volkov is at plus 290. Man, what's your... Yeah, 3 rounds this time. That's true, Pisano. It is 3 rounds compared to the 5 they did have. It was a main event, I believe, at the Apex back then as well. So your thoughts? Oh, no, I didn't make a pick here on the Bryce Mitchell Kron Gracie. I'm with you. I'm picking Bryce Mitchell, by the way. Sorry, I'm all out of sorts this evening. Blame it on the shitty internet. Threw me off the start. But your thoughts here, Ciryl Gane, Alexander Volkov.
My thoughts are I really don't know what to do with these guys. Both of them are unfortunately in this scenario where it's like, what do you do with them? Because when they get to the top of the top, they really seem to struggle. Now, like you said, to his credit, Volkov has come back and put together quite a winning streak. Ciryl Gane technically has not lost to Tom Aspinall, so that fight is still out there and people want to see it. I understand why people find it intriguing because of the speed factor, but I legitimately think Tom Aspinall would finish Ciryl Gane quicker than John Jones, or just as quick, like within the first round. So, like,
yeah, I think so too.
To me, like, it's more like why are we doing this fight? Like, I understand why they're doing it. They booked it because Tom's held up because they're trying to do stuff with John, and they got to kind of have this as a backup plan. But I just hope to God this ain't the actual thing that happens, because it would just hurt my soul if the next fight Tom Aspinall has to have is against Ciryl Gane or Volkov. Not saying that those guys don't deserve it or anything like that. And I know I'm kind of going on a tangent that is unrelated to the fight, But before I even think about it and break it down, especially because we already have 5 rounds of tape on this, it's just the thing I find far more interesting is my kind of just disinterest in it, for a lack of a better term. Like, where do they go from here? Now, I will say for this fight, does their performance completely, shut me up? Part of the reason I've been so critical with Gone and stuff is he had that performance. He went to do the movies. It's really hard to actually fault him at that because, like, why not get your money? It's not like the UFC's breaking it off for you. So I kind of get how it goes. But when I look at this, I think to myself, well, I know Volkov has gotten a little bit better. I'm not necessarily sure if Cyril Gane has improved anywhere. I think he is still extremely elite on the feet and is very fast. But I don't know. I think with Volkov having those 25 minutes and the recent surgeons he's been on, I think he can set up and try to put Gane in some positions. And the real only question is Gane's speed too much for him to implement that? But
I think one thing I'll say before we make our picks too, like breaking it down, like Volkov took down and submitted Tai Tuivasa. Like he has that in his bag as far as submissions. Like it's he submitted Tai. So like if I'm Volkov, I'm looking maybe at trying to take this to the ground. I mean, that was he had another submission way back in the day. Other than that, he hasn't submitted anybody. I was still trying to think like if he had submitted anybody else, but it doesn't look like it from his fight record here. But I mean, it's something that to me, like, hey, I know there's a path to victory here. If I can take him down and wrestle him, I'm going to show him that, I can do that. So I think that if I'm Volkov, that's the path to victory right now.
Yeah, I think he should push him up against the fence and try to get him down. The thing is, Gane is so big, it's will he be able to do it? But especially with having the 25 minutes on tape, and more importantly, the John Jones fight on tape, I completely agree. I don't understand how he does not implement the grappling, and maybe Gane is able to hold it off, and it just shows how much more elite John Jones is than both of them. But I don't know, with Volkov not necessarily being on a layoff or anything compared to Gane and stuff, I think I'm a little more inclined to go with him, especially knowing it's a 3-round fight. It gives him less time to work. He might need to be more urgent, but I think if he can get the grappling, he could easily get a finish. Like you saw Cyril Gane in the Francis fight, he like went for a leg lock when he should have moved the guard. So it's easily the best path for victory. I don't understand why he wouldn't do it, especially like it's not like he needs to worry about the fight like being entertaining or anything like that. So yeah, realistically, he probably gets his comb haired in between the first and second round, and I think he'll get a submission round 2.
Yeah. So you like Volkov?
Yeah,
you like the dog. You like the dog.
I was planning on just going copy and paste and picking Volkov, picking Gane. And I don't know. The more I think about it, I'm saying, Cyril, if you want me to give you that respect, like show me, like prove me completely wrong, 30-27 him, or get him out of there. But legitimately, Volkov, it might be more of a question if what's his name? Not the polar bear, but his last fight, the other Russian dude.
Spivak.
Yeah.
Spivak.
Yeah. So the one question is, how much is he was he dealing with just coming off that L to Tom Aspinall? you know, like
Yeah.
maybe that's why he was able, it was easier, but I don't know. I don't really believe in that. I think Volkov put in the work, has been putting in the work, and I'm not trying to really question Cyril Gahn's work ethic. I'm just not sure if he's gotten better when I know that Volkov has improved a little. So
Yeah,
the lines
Volkov
would
looks
call
good.
me
He
an,
looks like a
yeah,
legit champion, like a championship fighter these last, since that
yeah.
fight, since he fought
The
last.
lines would absolutely call me an idiot, but it's just a feeling I have talking it out with you.
Yeah, so we haven't seen Cyril Gahn since September 22nd of last year, 2023. So it's been 365 days. Man, I have I am almost in the same scenario you are, Bobby, and I'm looking at this like, get this. So we're talking about Volkov, but you said Volkov by sub. That's plus 2,500.
Yeah, see that's wild. And see that's like if it turns into like point fighting and a decision, Volkov is fucked. I mean, for a lack of better
Yeah.
term.
I think Surreal, that's kind of Surreal's game. He'll
Oh,
stay on
absolutely.
the outside, circle the cage.
Yeah,
He's a
he's gonna
legit
chew that
kickboxer.
leg up
Yeah.
early.
Yeah. So by points here, by TKO, you got not Pavlovich, but Volkov by plus 1,100. And then it's plus 400 for Surreal. Sub for Surreal is 1,300. I don't foresee him subbing him, but I mean 2,500. We've seen Volkov get a sub just recently. Like I said, against Tatuvasa. Points wise, it's minus 135 for Gahn. So I think they favor it's if it goes to 3 rounds, the 25 full 15 minutes. It's going to be points by Gahn. And then it's points here by Volkov plus 475. So, man,
Yeah, like I said, the line would call me an idiot, but I don't think I'm gonna back off it.
You know what, Bobby? I wasn't gonna do this for this fight. In fact, I actually had it picked for the Aljo fight, but I have talked myself into it. My dog on the card at plus 290. I'm going with the Russian Alexander Volkov, baby. That's my dog on the card. I talked myself into it. I was going to pick Aljo as my dog on the card, but now I'm riding with Alexander Volkov. I don't feel great about it, but just something inside me says, Volkov, baby, gonna get it done.
Yeah, definitely. Pulling out the mask for it made me feel it was like, but
I was gonna go Aljo as my dog on the card because I think Aljo will win that card or win that fight, and he's the dog on it. But man, just talking it out, and I was like, you know what? I've seen Volkov take down people and wrestle. I think that's the path to victory.
Yeah, I mean, the question is Gahn able to be so quick and just employs that calf kick so early that it makes it kind of hard for him to implement takedowns and stuff. But, they go into it fresh, so we'll see. But I got a feeling we'll know in the first. Yeah, exactly. Like he said, speed is the difference.
Yeah.
And we could absolutely see that. And we might, in the first 30 seconds, we might know, oh, no, complete bust. He will easily get it done. And it would not shock me at all. And
no, it wouldn't shock me if Surreal Gahn wins. Maybe today I'm feeling Pavlovich. All the way up until about 30 seconds ago, I was feeling Surreal Gahn. And then I talked to myself. You talked me, and I think we talked each other into picking Pavlovich. Or not Pavlovich, but Volkov. I think we both talked ourselves into picking Volkov instead of Surreal Gahn, and we're probably both. We've been putting up your comments there, Pang Meng Mian. Yeah, he said, so Passano says, I just watched the first fight. Let me, before we get on to the next two, the main and co-main, what's your thoughts here on Surreal saying he did ask for Tom in March? Tom said, this seems like, and then Tom has come out earlier and said like he's asked for Surreal when Surreal was at the top, and then and then at the instead at the bottom.
Yeah, my opinion on that is Cyril got a little bit of his own medicine, because he had no interest in fighting Tom until he had the interim title. Now, he claims that the UFC never sent him an offer for it. We all know how this works. They send him an offer sheet. It's not a contract. So when he says, they never gave him a contract or anything, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't offer him the fight. Now, knowing how the UFC works, I could just see timing not work on both ends. But I really do not fault Tom for it at all. And I completely understand the fans wanting to see this fight, because especially if most people consider Jones retired, it probably is the most intriguing fight that you can make it heavyweight, especially for the speed factor alone, because both of them move like middleweights. So, I totally get it. But at the same time, I think these back and forth things will only make the fight bigger if and when it happens. And hopefully it happens after Jones and Tom. But, I don't got a magic crystal ball. So we'll just have to wait for it to play out.
So he's asking, what's our refreshing all thoughts on Cronathan Jones? I don't know who Cronathan Jones is. We talked about Cron Gracie already, so I don't know who Cronathan Jones is. But if you want to rewind a little bit, we talked about Cron Gracie. Yeah, Tom explodes too quick. I agree. I love Tom Aspinall. We've on many episodes of John Jones. I can't wait for him and Tom Aspinall. I think that fight will happen. We'll get in some other UFC news and notes here after a bit as well. After we go through this card, typically we go co-main, but you made me promise you that we would save the co-main for last, because that's kind of the people's main event. So we will get into the main event. Like I said at the top, I cheekishly say that Alexander, if he wins this fight, Alexander Pantoja is my fighter of the year, because this would be his third straight title defense. And he has taken on Kai Asakura, making his UFC debut. Not very many times is a guy who makes his UFC debut, gets a title fight, but he does. Pantoja is the favorite here at minus 260. He's 28-5. He's this a year alone. He has beaten the likes of Roy Vaught. He's beaten the likes of Astro Boy. So this is his third title defense. I think did he win the title this year? This is his third one. He won it at the end of last year, I believe, when he beat Moreno in a close fight. And he's taking on Kai Asakura, who's 21-4, again making his UFC debut. The former one flyweight champion. Asakura is the dog at plus 210. Bobby, your thoughts?
I think he's the former Ryzen champion.
Ryzen, that's the one. Yeah, Ryzen.
Yeah, and me wanting to break this down before is no disrespect to this fight, because I think this will be a great fight. I just think there is a more intriguing storyline for the division down the road of the co-main event to talk about. Whereas this fight, they literally had to bring someone in because Pantoja has pretty much cleared almost everyone out. So that's not to say that this is not a justifiable main event. I mean, they originally obviously had it as the co-main before Bilal Muhammad had to pull out. But I think, the UFC hit a home run marketing it. The countdown, they did kind of a very unique way of marketing it that wasn't the same copy-paste thing especially because, you know, they don't have the rights to like a lot of his Rising tape and stuff. So they're showing like, you know, a lot of street fights and stuff with his brother. And if you weren't excited about it, that, you know, got you excited alone for it. But, you know, Pantoja has been going through everyone. You know, Kai isn't even like a natural flyweight. He's kind of moving down for this, which is like, that is kind of the argument I understand, like why people are pushing back on. But at the same time, when you look at the division and the people that Pantoja have already done, like, sure, they could have ran back the Royval fight or something like that. But this
Like
is
they could have done Kai Car-France is about the only person in the top that he hasn't beaten.
Personally, that is what I wanted to have happen. Like when Kai got that knockout, like I went against Kai in that fight. He proved me wrong and got the KO. But you know, in thinking about it, it is nice to see them attempt to do something to try to give Pantoja the boost that he deserves and stuff like that. Because, I mean, just look at Mighty Mouse, you know, the amount of times that, you know, I know Dana will claim that no one fought for him more after he retired, but currently during his UFC career, I don't think there was anyone that fought for him less. So it's good at least to see the upper brass trying to try new stuff. And I think it's going to be a really good fight. The aspect of you know, I think the striking is going to be really interesting. Kai is also very fast. He likes to throw knees, some knees to the body. I could definitely see happening. And, you know, it's going to, a lot of the most intriguing thing to me is, will there be any UFC jitters and stuff? Considering he's a former champion and stuff, I don't really think there'll be anything like that. But whenever we think that, a lot of the times it will, you know, be kind of the opposite. But
a lot of people don't think it's going to be, and then they realize that it is. You know what I mean? And now this guy is a world renowned like champion. You know what I mean? In Rising, he has like they were saying he has over 100 million followers on YouTube. So I don't know, but there is something about the production value. There's something about you know, that type of things that their fighters aren't used to. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is. You're all right. You know, he is Japanese. It's different crowds and venues as well. So
and
I
that
agree there too.
That might legitimately help him with Vegas crowds, because I don't think it will be the loudest building he's ever fought in. To whoever just left that comment's point. So
yeah,
that's a little bit of why I haven't fully bought into the whole you know, first fight in the UFC thing for this one. But at the same time, I think we're also really underselling Pantoja and stuff like that. And it's going to be a dangerous fight. I'm sure the UFC would hope for Kai to win just for the Japanese market and everything like that. But
if I'm he has knocked all of us off, or Pantoja's beat us all.
Yeah. And you know, the Japanese champ angle is interesting, but to my knowledge, I don't think one has won. You know, they've gotten plenty of opportunities, but I believe no one has closed it. So if he's able to do that, that would obviously be a huge thing. It would not shock me at all if they do the rematch in Japan or something like that. And you know, I think a lot of people think that because of Pantoja's last fights and stuff, most likely this fight will be a decision. But the firepower on the other end, I really don't see an angle where this goes to decision. I think Pantoja will probably have to get him out of there, because he's going to keep putting that, you know, it on him. So I don't think it's going to be, you know, the typical like 25-minute thing with Pantoja. But even if it is, I think it's going to be very intriguing. Who knows if Pantoja tries to test his grappling? He's always very well-rounded. So if I were to pick Kai, I think he would maybe get a knockout with a knee through a body shot or something like that. But I think I'm going to have to go with the champion experience here and lean on Pantoja.
So you got Ann Still.
Yeah, for this one. But I do think it's going to be intriguing, and Kai is going to look like he belongs there for sure, and is going to probably be a tough out for anyone else at the top, implying that he stays there, because who knows what his future holds if he loses. But if he wins, I mean, the UFC is going straight to Japan.
Yeah, I want to throw up something real quick. Mighty Mouse. No, Mighty Mouse is not mid. Mighty Mouse, you don't have to say Mighty Mouse is your GOAT, but by God, he is not mid at all. He's one of the top. He is on the Mount Rushmore of MMA, if you ask me, for Mighty Mouse, all the things that he's done. So my quick thoughts on this, man. So for reference here, I have been all wrong on Pantoja. I was just thinking about this. I picked him against Moreno, lost. I picked him against Raw Dog, lost. I picked him against Steve Hersey and lost. So, what's the old saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame, fool me twice, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, he fooled me 3 times, okay? There won't be a 4th time. I think the fact that this guy, that Asakura this is his first UFC fight, and I know he's a rising champion. I know he's been in big arenas, but there's something to be said. This is the best of the best in the UFC, and he's taking on a guy who is always game, one of the best, if not the best, right now, the best flyweight in the world. So with that being said, I got still UFC flyweight champion of the world, Alexander Pantoja.
Not to mention the rule set difference for him too. He's used to being able
to
kick people.
There's no karate kicks or soccer kicks. Like you can do that in Ryzen. So
it would be so awesome if Vegas just allowed it for this fight.
Yeah,
but we know that's not happening. They'll sanction power slap, but not that.
So let's get into our main event. Days ago, I said when this guy he beat 365 days ago when he beat Wonderboy Thompson, I said Shavkat Rakhmonov, I was claiming it before this that he was a future welterweight champion, that he would either A, be fighting for the welterweight championship or be the welterweight champion. Now, unfortunately, he won't be able to fight for the title because Bilal hurt his toe and he had to pull out. They make the replacement. We've talked about it. It is none other than Ian Gary. It is, and we talked a little bit about this. Shavkat, the number 3 ranked welterweight champion in the welterweight. He is 18-0. He is the favorite here at -390. He is taking on Ian Gary, number 7 ranked welterweight at +290. Ian is 15-0. Somebody has to go. We get the drama of the fact that they used to train together. And now that we obviously know that they are, there's video of Shavkat kind of putting it on him. Ian even says, like, yeah, he choked me out in the training. So at least Ian owns that. But he said he's going to come in and punch out the boogeyman that is Shavkat Rakhmonov. Kudos to Ian Gary for taking this fight on, short notice. We know he was training for a fight, but nobody, we found out today that, this week that, I think who'd they say? Usman who took the fight, then backed out. Somebody said absolutely no. Was it Colby that said no? I believe. Absolutely held.
Usman turned it down, and basically everyone turned it down except for Carlos Prates, who did want to do it, but he couldn't get medically cleared. And hats off to him, because that fight would have been batshit insane.
Yeah, he would have had to pack. He would have. Parates probably would have had to pack a couple packs of smokes to fight Shavkat.
He would have needed both feet for sure, and he had a broken foot. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, future matchup, let's go. But yeah, you know, the it doesn't really shock me that nobody wanted to take the fight on short notice, especially when, like, I think if it was possibly for the interim, Usman might have chanced it, but
I think that's what happened to me. If Usman, I think he said yes, I'm in, and then they said, hey, it's not going to be for an interim. He said no.
yeah. But I
think
told you
that's what
last
happened.
week, I defaultly kind of got what I wanted because I wanted them to rebook Shavkat for a fight, but you know, not for an interim title. I thought it was kind of unnecessary because that fight will eventually happen. And you know, the UFC landed on its feet, got this set up, and now, like you said, someone's O has got to go. You know, whether you love or hate Ian Gary, I think you have to acknowledge that nobody else wanted to take this fight, and he's taking advantage of the opportunity. And that's how careers are just flat out made in this sport, you know? So I do think now, you know, there's a decent chance, like if Ian Gary wants to have success in this, there is a good chance this might not be appealing on the eyes. You know, I think Ian's best strategy is probably to be on his bike for 15 minutes. And he's always kind of been able to find ways to figure out how to implement that and stuff. But I don't know. Shavkat is just a different beast. And like, especially if he's able to press up against him on the cage, like, will Ian be able to, you know, hold that off? You know, he says Charles Oliveira is going to be in his corner. I found it a little interesting that he went down to Thailand for this camp. I don't know if he was like previously there. Maybe this was like a decision in the Buckley fight, or if this is something he specifically chose to do for Shavkat. But that's kind of piqued my interest a little bit. But stylistically and stuff, I think the best person to defeat Shavkat is the one that was matched up with him for the title in Bilal Muhammad. And I just wonder if, you know, Ian is able to, you know, kind of withstand a lot of the pressure. Will he be able to kind of, you know, continue to circle around and come back in and out? Or is Shavkat just going to make it ugly? And eventually, I think it is going to turn ugly. And I would probably have to pick Shavkat in this. But I'm not necessarily going into this thinking that Gary's going to get smoked. I do legitimately think this could be the first time we see Shavkat actually go to a decision. And I know that might be a wild take considering he's finished every single one of his opponents. But stylistically, they do know each other a little bit. And Ian's style, exactly, I would expect him to circle around and not really do kind of the grapple heavy approach that he's done in his last few fights. But picking it wise, I am going to have to go with Shavkat. But I think we do get a pretty compelling fight in the end either way. And Ian's definitely going to take a loss, but I don't see how this is going to hurt his stock. He's going to have a lot of options after this. And
yeah,
like, imagine if he wins.
Yeah. If Ian pulls the upset, it would be incredible for Ian. I mean, winner gets the title fight. So like, we know that like winner will hold the title fight.
Not only that, like there's been so many upsets this year, and this one could legitimately steal it. But you know, at the same time, there were some other ones that were almost crazier. But you know, I think those cards are on the table, but I think Shavkat is just going to be too well prepared.
Yeah, I think that I again, kudos to Ian for taking this fight, and kudos for and also kudos for Shavkat. Like, he had the title fight. Like, he could have said, I'll wait for Bilal, and he said, no, I'll take this fight. I need to get a fight in, secure my number one contendership. So there's no excuses now. They have fought. They do have some similar opponents. You know, they both fought Neil Magny, and they both fought Jeff Neal. You know, Ian won both of those by decision, while Shavkat finished both of them. So I mean, if you want to do the, we know MMA math never works out, right? So, but there is some similarities there as far as who might have looked better. I would tell you that maybe Ian looked a little bit better against Jeff Neal, even though it was a unanimous decision where Shavkat, he did go into that fight injured, but was able to win. Last time, we haven't seen Shavkat in almost a year because of some injuries when he choked out Wonder Boy. So there's that as well. So like, will it be sort of any kind of like ring rust, I guess, I don't really know, from Shavkat. This, I believe, is a 5-rounder. Right? Is this 5 rounds?
Yeah, it is 5 rounds. And the layoff is absolutely in my mind. But at the same time, I just think he'll be able to push through it. But yeah, it is 5 rounds to my knowledge.
Yeah, it is. It is 5 rounds. Really, it's over under on the rounds is it's split. So over is minus 105, under is minus 125. So you look at Shavkat by TKO, 3.5.
Okay, so pretty much championship rounds. All right.
Yeah. Then Shavkat by TKO or KO is plus 250. Ian is plus 700. Shavkat by sub is plus 180. Ian by sub is plus 3,000. And then by points, you got Shavkat plus 275. And then Ian Gary is plus 700 if it goes the distance. So, if Ian to me wins, I think that's what he wins by decision.
Absolutely.
I don't know if
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to finish Shavkat. So yeah, Pisano, I kind of agree with you here. Is that Shavkat finishes? We haven't seen Ian finish. So Pagmiano says he's going to put $5 on Ian. I mean, that's a fair shake. Like he putting 5 on him. I would go put 5 on the points.
One last thing before you do your pick, honorary pick. We'll do the Bullies Bricks. Bilal Muhammad is picking Ian in this fight. And the reason I think that's relevant is, I mean, he was training for Shavkat. He's obviously watched a lot of tape on both of these guys. So, like, is he kind of doing that just to sell the fight more and, put down Shavkat? We've seen him troll a lot on social media. But I do think that is telling. If there is one person that always picks the wacky upset, it's Bilal Muhammad. And it's
Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns has picked Ian Gary.
And, he's trained with Ian before.
I think, right? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, they were all over at Killcliff. And keep in mind, he's also trained with Shavkat. Yeah, so that's it's very intriguing to me. And mainly just because, like, the after effect of that. Like, obviously, the winner should get Bilal, no question. And then what do you do with the guy that loses? Because I do wonder do you think there's a small chance the reason the UFC didn't put the interim title on the line is because they didn't know what type of fight they were going to get?
No, I don't. I just think that they don't want to get stuck with too many interims. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that, like they've already got the heavyweight interim. We've seen kind of a fucking mess that has become. So I don't think that's like a problem. Or like what kind of fight they're going to get. I think they think it's going to be a good fight. Like, that's why it's the co-main event in 5 rounds. I will say, like, I'm going to go ahead and it is interesting that Bilal would pick Ian. I forgot that Gilbert doesn't he train? He's at Killcliff too, right? Like, he still does.
Yeah,
Henry Hoof still.
He's trained with both of them, And I mean, he
Yeah.
still trains with Shavkat.
I would think that Ian standing up kind of on his back legs, I think that's his path to victory. Maybe Shavkat doesn't have great head movement. He just kind of keeps going. And Ian can maybe throw some hands and work the jab. But this something about Shavkat, I'm not jumping the ship. 18 men have 18 up, 18 down. And on Saturday night, Bobby, it's going to be 19 up, 19 down. I'm going with my guy, Shavkat Rakhmonov, baby.
I hear it. And the one thing I will say with, like, if Ian is able to get this done, I don't know if I could think of another person that probably would completely change their public perception in that short amount of time. Like,
Yeah.
just
remember a year ago, wasn't it? Just a couple months ago, everybody was making fun of him because he was throwing up. He couldn't fight. Was it that the Connor card?
Well, you know that he got a bunch of, yeah, and a lot of it was just noise. He was like legitimately sick and stuff, but you know that was because Kobe was fighting Leon on that card. So like people just wanted to see that for the press conference. Yeah. But like he's definitely been taking like criticisms in his performances and stuff. People have been, you know, calling him a little lackluster. You know, they weren't like barn burners or anything, but at the same time, you know, you're fighting guys at that level. He did not take MVP lightly. He knew he had to stick to that game plan and stuff. But, you know, I don't know what the hell you're going to say about him if he pulls this off. And, you know, that alone is going to be great. But, you know, at the same time, like you said, Shavkat is Shavkat. And the fact that, like, he literally just told the UFC, just give me a body bag. I don't give a fuck who's in it. And so, you know.
Yeah. Real quick, we talked about it a little bit, and I told you it was going to be my dog on the card, and I changed it. And that was the Mozart Evolov versus Aljo on the prelims. You mentioned it. I don't think this is a number one contender fight either, because I still think we just talked about it. Diego versus Josh Emmett. I guess they're fighting. That's the number one contender fight, right? Because Diego already filmed, like, was the backup fighter for the Max Holloway and Ilya fight just a couple months ago. So like you would think that Diego would be the number two contender if they're going to run it back with Volk.
I guarantee you that fight's going to be on the main card. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
Who do you like in this fight? I mean, it's, you know.
In which one?
Evolov versus Aljo.
You know, I think it's a really tough fight for Aljo. I think the UFC has kind of done him a little bit of a favor, maybe pissing him off. But I'm a little concerned that might be in his head a little, because he's talked about it. And normally I would not make these type of assumptions, but he did pretty much psych himself out in the Sugar O'Malley fight and, you know, listen to the fans booing. And that's the main reason he did that shot. So, you know, I think it's a 50-50 fight. Is Aljo he's the dog on it because you wanted to take the dog?
Yeah. Aljo's plus 210.
Oh, man. I mean, I could kind of see it. I'd probably have it more kind of like a plus 150, but you know, 2-1 odds is still pretty good. You know, was Aljo sick or was he coming? Because the fight got postponed. Was that
he got injured? He injured himself in training.
They
were supposed to be in the Utah card.
Yeah. I definitely think Aljo could win, but at the same time, I think I'm inclined to have to go with Mosavar there.
Yeah, real quick, Aljo by points on that is plus 350.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. By sub is plus 1,000. Knockouts 1,500.
And then what's like the decision? It's just like the 210 or.
Yeah, no, plus 350 for Aljo. Money line is for Evilov is minus 260 by points, which he's never finished. He's 7-0, 7 decisions. It's minus 155. So I think if you're the UFC, you just hope that Aljo handles business, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I mean, you saw Aljo. He was saying that he thinks it was because of his opponent they got bumped. So
yeah,
maybe he's just telling himself that. But I do know a lot of
Mozart's 18-0. Like he's 18-0 too. Like never lost.
I know there are a lot of people picking Aljo to get finished in this fight.
To get finished? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's why I said that, because that's the part that sounds wild. But especially with it being 3 rounds, I think it's going to be a high level decision, most likely. But I think either guy is there. But unfortunately, they're both going to need another one probably to get a title shot, especially when you look at the Diego Emmett fight. Like, what do you think they're going to want to do? The only reason that one gets murky is because doesn't Ilya have a win over Emmett?
Yeah.
So but at the same time, I think the main reason the UFC did that matchup is hoping that Diego gets the nod. So,
same.
Yeah, I don't want to pick against Aljo, but the stuff he's dealing with. Are we going to get a performance where you see him being pissed off and he's gonna imagine this? Imagine he gets the win and they don't even give him mic time or something.
They did that at UFC 300.
Yeah, so if we run that back, I mean, I fully get like all the the weirdness of the feeling, but like I said, I think the placement of it will be pretty good with the stacked prelims in between it. So that card is going to go down like some fine wine.
Before we get out of here, I want to hit on some just kind of ask your opinion. We've kind of talked about it before, but we kind of mentioned during the show is Turki Al-Sheikh kind of said like he wants to do the John Jones versus Francis fight. Dana has come out and said no, absolutely fucking no, pretty much. What percentage would you say that fight happens?
Jones Francis?
Yeah.
-5%.
Wow, -5%.
Yeah, not a chance in hell. Like, barring that Dana White doesn't drop dead, I don't see it. And he's been taking a lot better care of himself. So, I don't think the odds are good on that. And at the same time, I think this is kind of a positive because the one part that people kind of left out in that Noah shutting it down is it's John versus Tom. So it sounds like he just wants to get that done. And, if there's one person that I saw Ariel's take of, there's never been anyone else that can make a UFC fight. And, this is why we doubted that the John Jones fight would happen, because Witt was saying, oh, well, maybe Turkey will get involved. And I don't think Dana wants to set that precedent of Turkey paying the fighters. I think Dana would say, nah, Turkey, we're good. We'll pay him shit. Thanks for the offer, though. And legitimately,
Turkey could pay the UFC. Turkey could pay the UFC and not John Jones.
The more intriguing one to me, and this is, I would probably put it less chance happening than the super fight, but Francis does only have one more deal left on that PFL. And, you know, like, I know Dana's pounded the table saying, I will never do business with a horrible person like that again. But let's not act like Dana doesn't do business with a bunch of horrible people. So
Right.
it's nothing's off the table, but I would
He
think the
doesn't
only
have to
way
do
that would
business. Hunter
happen.
Campbell has to do the business. You know what I mean? And it sounds like Francis has kind of said him and Hunter have a good relationship.
They do, but you know, I know a lot of Hunter was in on 99% of those meetings opposed to Dana. So I do really wonder what the taste Hunter had left in his mouth afterwards, you know? Maybe during they did, but I don't know. Like, to me, I'm pretty maybe it's just wistful thinking, but I think they're more kind of focused on trying to figure out how to make the John Jones fight. And I think even in that tweet, like, maybe Dana was leaning on to that. He's like, hey, Turkey, you want a bag? Help me out with this. We'll put Riyadh as the sponsor.
That's what I proposed too, because you know, John said he wants fuck you money, and I've heard he's asking for like 30 million or something like that,
which is essentially double his purse. Because I think last he made like in between 10 and 12. John Nash was saying, and he's pretty accurate with those figures most of the times. So I'd say he's pretty much trying to double his pay. And, you know, there have been a lot of points made for when have they ever done this. It wasn't Conor, you know. Conor got paid handsomely, but he never got fuck you money. And
he's not John Jones. And then maybe if Conor would have kind of, you know what I mean? Not done some of
the fuck you money did not come in the UFC.
Yeah.
You know, he got it from the Floyd fight. And I love that Dana acted like, no, we paid Conor. It's like, well, and how do you get the fuck you money? But, you know, that, to me, that was breaking news yesterday. And the news that got announced with 311 about an hour ago, I completely forgot that happened, to be honest.
Yeah, well, real quick before we get out of here. So the UFC 311, and that card looks stacked. That's going to be in your backyard in Los Angeles as well. We got the main event is Islam in a rematch from a couple years ago, which obviously that was a short notice fight. And then the co-main event is for the bantamweight title, Merab versus Umar. So how about Islam and Umar being on the same card? First of all, I mean, and it being in Los Angeles is weird. It's not, you know, in UAE or that I feel like that's probably where, you know, usually those types of cards happen. But in LA, your thoughts on just that, the main and co-main? Obviously, we'll break down that whole card when it happens.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was a pretty distinct possibility, especially for the Islam Umar angle, because like you know, when else are you going to have an opportunity to do that? It was a big part of the reason I was kind of rolling my eyes at Merab's last skit, but at the same time, like I said there, you know, he was just trying to get his stake betting out. And, you know, he probably did his best selling point to get a few extra dollar signs on that fight. And it was very, like, the way Dana announced that was very telling. Like, pretty much saying, like, Merab came in here last night and he was tired of, like, people, like, talking ill on his name and stuff. Like, when do you ever get that in a fight announcement?
Yeah.
You know, like, Dana's always like, here's the fight. See you there. And like those small, like, little details, like, what a way to kick off the year. Like, just with those two fights, I mean, they've really stacked the entire card that's shaping up. I don't know how many of those are official, but most of them have been verbally agreed and fighters have been posting about. So like we know they're happening.
Yeah,
But I mean,
the Hill versus Bohovich is on that card
yeah.
too.
And Armin has a huge following in Los Angeles. So like credit to Islam for essentially taking this rematch. The closest to his backyard is you're probably going to get, because you're not going to see them probably doing an event over there. But that's going to be just great to watch. I know that some people might sneeze at it and be like, oh, that might be a heavily like grappling European card. And I don't know. To me, like those two top fights are just the best versus the best. I'm glad Marab finally saw that. I think he's kind of seen it the whole time, and he was, just playing the sides. And I'm literally almost more intrigued for that than the main event. Like that's when you got something cooking. So knock on some wood.
I think mainly because like we're just like there were so many options for Marab, right? And he's like kind of fucking around, like you said. I think he was playing mind games with Umar. As far as like when the fight's going to be, it's going to be in March. It's going to be, it's going to be Peter Yad. It's going to be Sean O'Malley. So I think like, and we already knew from the longest time that it was going to be Armin versus, pretty much since Armin beat Charles, like it's going to be Armin versus Islam. So like that's been a while. So like, when did he beat Charles? Like that was UFC 300, maybe.
Was it? So I think it was like one after that or something, or one before, like right in between or something. It's when he almost, because he almost hit that fan.
Yeah, that was UFC 300. Yeah, it was UFC 300. Yeah. So like we've known that for a while. Like that was kind of be the next fight for Islam. So it's because Islam had just fought at 299 against Dustin Poirier, so it matched up, and Islam was hurt, and then they could remember they were supposed to fight at Abu Dhabi initially this year, and they had to move it back because Islam was hurt. So I think because we've known that fight's going to be a while, and now we're just figuring out like an hour ago that, oh, it's official. It's going to be Marab versus Umar. There's no more speculation. So you haven't had a chance to digest it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, I totally think Marab definitely wanted to have this in March or post-March because, his whole perspective is he's been fighting injured his whole career. And I think he just wanted to get some time. And this is the thing that scares me. Who does that remind you of? That's literally his best friend and training partner. Yeah. And but I know a lot of people that think Marab is not slowed down. So why should he slow down here? But shit, man, when Corey lost, like that post-fight interview where he's like, well, he'll probably be the champ in the future. Like, I mean, that was very telling right there. But that thing is going to be fireworks. And after that, you get Islam and Armin too. Like, I mean, what a way to kick off the year. So, well done, UFC. And that's going to be fun as shit to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. So that pretty much kind of sums up. I'll give you my percentage real quick on Jones and Francis. I do think the Tom Aspinall fight happens. I think it happens probably at International Fight Week next year. So I think that's kind of the where they'll do that card at. I think that gets done. Now, if Jones beats Tom Aspinall, there is nobody left for Tom or for Jones other than Francis. And that's where I see the payday coming in, the big money. And they do, Turkey out Sheik. They pick up the phone for Turkey.
You think Jones would do one more if he dominated Tom, more or less?
Yeah. If he beats Tom, then everybody's just like, well, we got to see the Francis fight. That's it. And if there's a more fuck you money, you know, so we'll see.
The part that was more telling to me was Turkey saying he had a boxing offer for Francis as well. And
well, I think he said Deontay Wilder.
Oh, really? He dropped the name for it. He went more
I think that's the plan.
I mean, if you're the PFL, how are you not doing everything in your power to make that happen in your organization?
Yeah.
It is wild.
Well,
damn, that's see, I find that to be a lot more realistic. I would put that at like 80% happening.
Yeah, I'll put Jones Francis at I'm gonna say 5%. So yeah. I would say that the Wilder fight.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Two options on the table.
So I think the Wilder fight's more likely.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't know if you're John Jones and you finish Aspinall, how you don't just ride off into the sunset, knowing how much, like, unless, like, Dana is legitimately willing to do it and stuff, and, like, maybe, like, Dana gets into his own head again, and, you know, because imagine if that happens, Dana will immediately be like, well, John Jones is obviously the GOAT. The media doesn't know jack shit. And you know what? I'm gonna show you all. And I really don't see that happening. But at the same time, like you said, money talks. And Turkey said we got to send him to the moon. I would argue you probably have to send him first because you're gonna need some freaky shit to happen.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much he's already ducked him once. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Jones kind of did in my mind. That pretty much sums up the show, folks. This has been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers, our UFC 310 preview show. We will do a post show next week, Wednesday. Whit also wants to talk about the Benavides fight card. That card is stacked. So
we'll save that for him. That shit is huge.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that as well. Plus all the action that happens this Saturday for the 310 post show, 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern. If you're new to the program, please like, subscribe, share, hit that bell as well. So other than that, folks,
chat pretty active today.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. So other than that, folks, be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. For my guy Bobby Blunts, I'm Bodkins. We will catch you 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern next Wednesday for another episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. Thanks for battling through my internet problems at the beginning of the show, folks. So appreciate it. See ya.
Enjoy those fights.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.